I am from Pondicherry. I am doing my B.Tech. My question is, what should be our reaction to the education which is confusing to community? But it is more interesting, which will create confusion in community, but it will be more interesting. What should be our reaction to that kind of education?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Like some masail problems, which we have in, especially in Tamil Nadu. Some scholars may tell something different from other scholars. So it is creating big problems, but they are not that major.
Remember, you know, khilaf or having different opinions is not necessarily bad. It is healthy. The problem is not the fact that people may have different opinions. The problem is, how do people react to the fact that there are different opinions? That is more problematic. And this is what is causing the fitna. Give you an example. Great Imam Abu Hanifa. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, you raise your hand once in the salah and that is it. That's it. You don't raise your hands anymore. One time he was praying next to Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. Now Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak raises his hands every time he says Allahu Akbar. Can you imagine this? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Even in sujood, he raised his hands, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And he's sitting next to Imam Abu Hanifa. And Imam Abu Hanifa was not only smart, but they said that he was a very funny man. He had a great sense of humor. So when the salah was over, he looked at him and he said, Abdullah, were you trying to fly, flipping your hands up and down every time? And Abdullah Mubarak laughed and he said, you know what, Imam? You raised your hands the first time and I thought you already flew away from us. But that's exactly how they took it. He is of this opinion, I am of this opinion, life goes on. He has his proof, he has his proof. His intention to do what he thinks best represents the way Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed. His intention is to pray in the best way he thinks represents the salah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. End of it. That's one point. The second point is that whenever Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught, he taught with simplicity. Did not complicate matters. He said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray as you have seen me pray. A Bedouin would come into town, and he would see Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam pray, and he would go and he would pray. You know, sometimes you go into the books of fiqh. Wallahi, I do not know where they got this from, and by all means, I am not in the position to criticize the people that are writing it. However, I feel it would be a better representation of the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that there are 15 conditions to make sure that your initial Allahu Akbar is correct. He said that there are 15 conditions to make sure that your initial Allahu Akbar is correct. 15 conditions? 15 conditions just to make sure that my initial Allahu Akbar is correct. He wants to know, where do I place my hands? He wants to know if I am verbalizing Allahu Akbar good or not. Grammatically, am I making a mistake or am I not making a mistake? And then he wants to know, how high did my hands go? How low did they come back? Come on, this is not how Muhammad ﷺ taught. And I would not appreciate something like this. It may be detailed, it may be interesting to hear, but it really does not represent the spirit of Muhammad ﷺ. He said, pray as you have seen me pray. Or do this and don't do that. And he would say, you know, بُعِثْتُ بِالْحَنِيفِيَّةِ السَّمْحَةِ. I was sent to man with a religion that is simple and easy. And that is what attracts many people that come into Islam. They say, you know what, it is very easy to understand your aqeedah. It is very easy to go and do the acts of worship because they're not very complicated. You do this, and end of the story. Allah explained wudu in one verse or 1.5 verse in the Quran, and that was the end of it. What I do not like is when we make small what Allah made big, and we make a big deal of that which Allah did not give the same amount of attention. That would be my problem. So I would say, you know, it may be interesting, it may be, if you're doing it for the sake of academics, then it would be good. But if it is further confusing you, then I'll say, look at someone that you trust most and he becomes your reference point. Wallahu alam, Allah knows best.
Any more questions?